then I will go ahead and get started. Just so everybody knows, my name is Jordan. I work in admissions at Muskingum University. I'm originally from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and this is my fourth year in admissions at Muskingum. I'm a 2015 graduate who got his bachelor's in history, and I also did some work for what was originally the DEO office, which is now the Student Accessibility Services office of Muskingum, and now I work with the recruitment arm of the PLUS program. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Leanne or Melissa, if you can, in the people section of the video, you can see people waiting in the lobby. If you could admit them, that would be great. So a little bit about Muskingum. We are located in New Concord, Ohio, which is about an hour east of Columbus. We're about 2.5 hours south of Cleveland. And the town is relatively small. There's only about 2,000 or so people that live in town. Campus has about 1,300 students. Most of them live on campus. I would say about 1,000 to 1,100 of those kids live on campus. So your average class size is not going to be super big. I think the average is generally around 16 to 17 kids. I think my biggest class at Muskingum, was a geography class that I had as a sophomore, and that might have had 27, 28, 29 people, and that's a pretty big class at Muskingum. As you kind of get up into your major, you're going to have classes that are significantly smaller. Like I had a class of 4 or 5 kids as a junior and senior. My brother, who also went to Muskingum, had a class of 3 kids as a senior, and it's really nice because you can have a personal relationship with your professors, where it's a lot harder to do that at bigger schools. There was, in between my first and second year in Muskingum, I had transferred home to go to Purdue Fort Wayne, and one of my first classes there was a 250-person biology class, and I knew pretty quickly that that was not a place that I could be successful at, but didn't know I needed a small school until after I had left. So one of the things we pride ourselves on is the relationships that our students have with our faculty members, because campus is not very big, so they see everybody. A lot of kids on campus are athletes, and a lot of our professors go to games and interact with students that way. Another benefit is we don't have any teaching assistants that teach any classes at Muskingum. All of our instructors have terminal degrees in whatever their field is, which is really nice because you have somebody who's had experience in their field, whether it's computer science, education, nursing, engineering, business, philosophy. They've had experience in that field before coming here to teach. And one of the most important things about Muskingum, I think, is the advisors that all of our students have are all professors in their major. So if you major in biology, your advisor is a professor in the biology program. Same thing with history, same thing with education. And it's really important because that person is how our students get access to internships, job shadowing opportunities. Maybe they're looking to go to grad school and need some help deciding on that. One of the guys I went to school with was looking to major in engineering, talked with his advisor, and they got him into LSU's material science engineering program. And without that help, it would have been really hard for him to do that. I got to tour the Pro Football Hall of Fame as a senior because my advisor knew somebody who knew somebody to help me get into that program. So I know it doesn't sound super exciting when you're 14, 15, 16, 17, but when you're 19, 20, 21, that person, whoever it is for you, is really important to how your 4 years and beyond go at Muskingum. So just make sure you keep that stuff in mind when you're looking at schools and determining what's a good fit for you based on how they can help you get from your freshman year to starting your career afterwards. I will let I think Dr. Elkins is here. Yes.
Yes, I am here.
Great. Okay, I'll let Dr. Elkins take it from here.
All right, thanks, Jordan. My name is Dr. Leanne Elkins, and I am the Executive Director of Disability Resources Services at Muskingum University. And I'm going to share with you how we support students with learning differences on our campus. We have a very unique program that you're not going to find on a lot of other campuses, and so we're excited to share that with you. And I'm thrilled that you're all here with us this evening. So this slide shows us that because of our supportive campus culture and the campus culture that Jordan's just described to you, Muskingum University was ranked number 15 by the collegeconsensus.com website for the supportive campus culture that we have for supporting students with learning differences. So on our campus, we actually have two services or two different offices that support students with learning differences. Jordan, go ahead and go to the next slide. We have the PLUS program and Student Accessibility Services. So as required by the Americans with Disabilities Act, or the ADA, Student Accessibility Services provides reasonable accommodations to students with qualified disabilities so that those students can participate in all aspects of college life. As you're looking at college campuses, you're going to find an office like this that provides federally mandated accommodations based on the ADA. What's unique about Muskingum University is the PLUS program. The PLUS program is our fee-for-service program, which provides comprehensive academic support services for students with learning differences. And our goal is to foster the development of skills needed for success in college. The PLUS program is a fee-for-service program because of the extensive one-on-one support that students receive. Next slide. So since 1983, the PLUS program has existed at Muskingum University, so it really is a part of our campus culture, and we see that in how our faculty really spend extra time supporting students with learning differences, but also all students on our campus. The PLUS program supports students who have a documented diagnosis of a learning disability, attention deficit disorder, autism spectrum disorder, or any other documented disability that creates a learning difference. PLUS program is only 5% of our campus enrollment. So students in the PLUS program are attending classes with their peers. They're not separated in any other way. They can select from any of our academic majors, live in any residence halls or campus houses, and really become a part of any student organization or athletic team. Next slide. Each PLUS program student meets individually during regularly scheduled times with assigned professional learning consultants. So within your class schedule, we schedule each student with tutoring times with our professional learning consultants, and their role is to customize learning strategies within the content tutoring to empower students to develop academic, communication, and executive functioning skills. All of our learning consultants have a bachelor's degree in the area they are tutoring, and they collaborate with students, instructors, academic advisors, and their families to monitor academic progress and provide support needed for success in college. So each of our students has what we call a primary learning consultant. They might have 2 or 3 learning consultants they're working with depending on their class schedule, but that primary learning consultant is the staff member who oversees the student's entire academic experience and serves as the main contact with the student's family and with the instructors. And the advantage of that primary learning consultant is that person is seeing the student 2, 3, 4 times a week, helping them manage their due dates and the overall experience on campus and academics. And it's that primary learning consultant is the contact person for a parent who might have a question or a concern about their student's experience. All right, so within the PLUS program, yes.
There's a question in the chat.
Okay.
Can you please explain fee for service?
Yep, that's my next thing. So
Okay.
Next slide shows you the 4 different levels of fees. So because the PLUS learning consultants spend so much one-on-one time with students, that an additional fee is required. So accommodations that are provided through the Student Accessibility Services Office are mandated by the ADA. There is no fee for them, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But because the PLUS program provides that one-on-one support, the type of support that maybe a special ed teacher or a resource room teacher is providing to a student within the high school setting, the PLUS program takes on that role. And within our PLUS program, we have 4 levels of services that provide individual support to students. Students get to select those levels of services based on their needs. And you will see on here at the very bottom of the chart, the number of hours per week each service provides, and on our website is the cost for each level of service, because that does change from time to time. So the premier level of service is 5 hours per week, and the select level of service is 3 hours per week. But both of those services provide academic focused tutoring using various learning styles, and focuses on the development of academic strategies needed for success. The transitions level of service is 1.5 hours per week, and is designed for that student who needs a little bit of extra support in transitioning from high school to college, or the student who is no longer needs the intensive academic support and is ready to transition from college to life after college. For those students who are juniors or seniors preparing for that transition to life after college, we work on things like job skills, job readiness, resume writing, how to search for a job, and those kinds of things. The connections level of service is 3 hours per week and focuses on self-advocacy, communication, and social skills. So these are for students who might need a little extra support communicating with professors, communicating with peers in group projects, or getting connected with organizations or activities on campus. This level of support also includes a peer mentor to encourage social skills development. So we recognize that some students need both social skills, connection support, as well as academic support, and those students can bundle the connections and select services for up to 6 hours per week of one-on-one support. And then additionally, for students who enroll in Muskingum University summer courses, there is a reduced fee for students who want to continue their PLUS program support in the summer. So you might wonder, well, how do we select which level of support our student might need? Our PLUS program staff, who are working with you individually through the process of applying to the PLUS program, will assist the student and their parents in selecting the appropriate level of service based on the needs of the individual student and their class schedule for that semester. But keep in mind, our goal is to help students learn the skills that they need to be successful in college. We want to foster their independence, and so we encourage that they reduce their services throughout their years with the PLUS program. Services can be changed in between semesters, but once a student starts a semester, then they are committed to that level of service throughout that semester. All right, so the LEAP program is the next thing I want to talk about. Jordan, go back one slide. There we go. The LEAP program provides a bridge for students with learning differences to experience college, and it supports the student's transition from high school to college. So this is really designed for new first-year students who want to start a college course a little bit early before the entire semester gets into swing. Students will start the course 2 weeks before the fall semester begins. That first week is virtual. They'll do it from home. They'll attend a class in the morning on Zoom. In the afternoon, they'll meet with peer mentors, so upper class plus students who are also participating in the LEAP program. They will meet with their learning consultant to get assistance with the content for the course and the assignments for the course, and they'll learn a little bit more about the services and supports on our campus. During the second week of the LEAP program, students will move to campus early, so an entire week before classes start and before all of the other first-year students move to campus. They'll move into their residence hall room, they'll get settled in their room, they'll learn the layout of the campus, they'll learn where their classes are scheduled, in what classrooms and what buildings, and they'll get a chance to connect with the other LEAP students that are participating in the program. This is only for first-year PLUS program students. We do have a handful of upper class PLUS students that serve as mentors to help give the students guidance throughout the 2-week program. So we really encourage this for students who just want to jumpstart, want to, like I said, a bridge to the college experience. It gives the student a chance to settle into their new environment. you will see on your admissions status page in the admissions website where you can sign up for the LEAP program. Okay. All right, next slide. So to tell you a little bit more about our ADA mandated program, that's Student Accessibility Services. And this supports students with learning differences by ensuring equal access to campus programs and services that is required by the ADA. So students must request accommodations by submitting documentation of their disability. So if you're submitting your documentation for the PLUS program, that is also shared with Student Accessibility Services. No need to submit it a second time. The staff in Student Accessibility Services determines the appropriate accommodations based on the student's documentation of their learning difference and their designated limitations to learning. So there's a conversation in August with the staff member and the student about what accommodations they received in high school, what worked for them, and what they think they will need in college. Student Accessibility Services also notifies the student's instructors at the beginning of each semester of the approved accommodations. And then we encourage the student to have a conversation with each of their instructors. But I want to make clear that the student's diagnosis is kept confidential. So that is not shared with the instructor, only the accommodations that are needed by the student. Okay. Next slide, please.
Leanne, there's another question about going into the senior year. Should high school students transition to a 504? Do high school IEPs transfer as ADA evidence?
We do look at ADA, we do look at the IEP for evidence for accommodations. If you're from Ohio, we also look at the ETR, which is the comprehensive assessment data of the student's academic ability. So there is no need to specifically transition to a 504. What I will share with you though is if a student is receiving modifications in high school, that's not something that students will receive in college. So you see on this slide examples of accommodations. So accommodations are supports that change the format or provide extra time or allow a student to take a test orally or provide their responses orally. But modifications are what changes the expectation. So when a student is given on a test in high school, less answer choices or a word bank or fewer questions, that's a modification. That changes the expectation from that and makes it different than what their peers expect. What happens in college is at the beginning of each semester, everyone in a class is handed a course syllabus by the instructor. The requirements in that syllabus are consistent for everyone that's in that class. So a modification of the expectation does not happen in college. And so we encourage that if a student is receiving modifications in high school, they start to wean off of those modifications so that they can be prepared for the expectations in college. So this slide gives you the examples of the kind of academic accommodations that students will receive, testing accommodations, and then also housing. The other piece that I want to mention here is where it talks about alternate format course materials. Many of our professors put articles to read, websites to read, or their PowerPoints in our online management system, which is Blackboard. And so students can access that there. Student Accessibility Services will teach students how to use a screen reader to read those materials that are in the Blackboard format. Alternate format textbooks, all of our students have access to the First Day Complete program, which allows them to request their books ahead of time from the bookstore so that on the first day, those books are available for them to go pick up in the bookstore at no additional cost to the student. If a student requires their textbook that a professor has ordered in a paper format, if the student requires it in an electronic format, then we will work with the bookstore to get that electronic format for the student. Okay. as far as testing accommodations, you see in the photo here on this slide that's an example of a testing room where students are taking an individual test with a test proctor. So on one side of the desk, the student is sitting at the computer. If the test is on the computer, the proctor is sitting on the other side, reading the test to the student if the student has a test reader as an accommodation. We do some testing in we have a classroom in our office, and we might put 4 or 5 students in a large classroom, each at their own individual tables, taking a paper pencil test with a proctor monitoring. So students that have the testing accommodations of extended time or distraction and reduced environment would come to our office in order to take those paper to pencil tests. Okay, next slide. So student accessibility services also support students with assistive technology, training for the use of the assistive technology, and then licenses for universities' own software. We have access to different types of readers, different types of speech to text software. For students needing class notes, we have licenses for Glean, and this is something you can use your search engine in order to get a free trial of Glean. But Glean basically is an app that you can put on your phone or on your computer, where you're going to basically have the lecture recorded or the class discussion recorded. It will make a transcription of the class discussion. It also allows you to make notes during the class discussion if there's something that you're confused about, or if the professor starts to talk about the assignment and the instructions for the assignment, you can make a note within that recording, so that then when you come into the PLUS program, meet with your learning consultant, you can pull up the recording of the instructor's instructions for the class assignment. And then it allows the student to have the notes from the class, but also allows that to be shared with the tutor and with the learning consultant, and that's the only person that they can share that with. All of our Muskingum students do have access to Microsoft 365. We are a Microsoft 365 school. We're not a Google school, so we encourage you, as you consider purchasing your own laptop for school, we encourage you to purchase something that's going to work well with Microsoft 365. And in our personal experience, Chromebooks don't always play well with Microsoft 365. So that's just something to consider as you're requesting your graduation gifts. All right, next slide. I've got a list of questions here for you. So as you are checking out other universities and other programs, this is a good slide to take a picture of with your phone, so that you can you just have some notes, some things to ask other folks about when you're visiting other campuses. So as you're looking at a program like Student Accessibility Services, which is the ADA program that provides accommodations, you want to find out about what is the process to access accommodations. You want to ask what kind of documentation is required, as well as what is the process for that office or to notify instructors, or how are instructors notified of a student's accommodations, and then how many staff are there to support your students' individual needs. Okay, in regards to the PLUS program, which is our academic support program, you're not going to find a comprehensive academic support program on every campus that you visit. So there's some questions here to ask about what kinds of tutoring support is provided on the campuses that you might be visiting. What are the qualifications of those tutors? Many campuses have peer tutors. Is executive functioning supported? Things like time management, organization, study skills. And then how is a student's transition to college supported? So those questions that you see there under academic support program are things that the PLUS program does support for the students that work with the PLUS program, and again, for an additional fee because of that one-on-one support. All right, and I'm going to turn it back over to Jordan.
Okay, I guess I should have mentioned this when I introduced myself. The way we usually do admission counselor assignments is by the county you live in, and if you live outside of Ohio, we do it by state. That is true unless you are interested in the PLUS program. I am the only admission counselor that works with the Pulse program. So if you're from Indiana, Colorado, Alaska, Las Vegas, all of those kids will go through me. So if anybody has any questions, my contact info is on the website. I'll also put it in the chat if you guys want to see it. Applying to Muskingum. I prefer all of my students use the Common App. We have a scholarship called the Horizon Award, which is based on any sort of clubs or organizations that you're involved in high school, whether it's at school or outside of school, outside of athletics. And a lot of kids tend to put more information on the Common App than they do on our application. But we take the Common App and we also have our own application that's probably 5 or 6 minutes to complete. The ACT/SAT is optional, so we do not require any test score for any sort of academic or scholarship or financial reason unless you major in nursing. Our nursing program is the #1 ranked Bachelor's of Science Nursing program in the state of Ohio, so they can be a little more selective with the students that they admit. In order to be admitted into the nursing program, you have to have a 3.2 and a 21 on the ACT or a 1030 on the SAT. Other than that, all of our merit-based scholarships are based solely on your GPA, your class schedule, how many years of math, science, English, that kind of stuff. We do have a foreign language component to us reading applications, but foreign language is not required for admission. So a lot of times we have students that have some sort of documented learning difference in high school, and a sign language, Spanish, Latin, Mandarin is just not a great fit for them academically. So we don't hold that against those students for admission, but it might change some stuff in terms of merit scholarships. We can work through that as students apply to Muskingum. We also have students who apply as exploring, which is how we code undecided. Undecided just sounds negative, and we think exploring is much more accurate to what these kids are going through. If students do that, they'll take gen ed courses and work through classes they may or may not be interested in and decide on a major after that. So that's generally how students apply to Muskingum. We don't have any early action deadlines or anything like that. We also have rolling admission. So once students start applying, usually that's in July, August, September. We start reviewing those applications around the beginning of September and release decisions in about the middle of September. So if you apply after that, and I'm reading your application, and as long as there aren't any red flags or anything that we have to worry about in terms of attendance or anything like that, you should have a decision from me in about 48 hours. Now, after you're accepted, one of the things we highly recommend is to visit campus. One of the ways you can do that is coming to Scholarship Day. I know there are some seniors on the call now. I believe most of you are registered for Scholarship Day, and if you're not, I believe the February 11th day is already full, and the February 25th day has some spots open, but it's a day where students can come to campus. You'll write a really short essay. You'll have a conversation in a small group with the faculty member, and the combination of those two things determine a scholarship enhancement for your time at Muskingum. So it could be anywhere between an extra $500 to $2,000 extra per year to attend Muskingum. You don't have to commit to coming to Muskingum to come to Scholarship Day. You don't have to pay a deposit to come to Scholarship Day. As long as you're accepted and you've been offered an academic merit scholarship, then you're more than welcome to come to Scholarship Day. If you decide you want to come to Muskingum, you would go to your status page, accept the offer of admission, and pay your deposit. And what paying your deposit does is allow you access to register for orientation. Once that happens, we work on creating a schedule for our students. If students have any sort of CCP or AP classes, we help figure out those credits so we can schedule them appropriately. We'll also do housing pairs during that time, and those are usually released in the summer. But paying your deposit allows you to do that, and the deposit is refundable up until May 1st. We also highly recommend families file the FAFSA. That is how families get government aid to attend college or universities, even for families that make above whatever the minimum or the maximum GPA is for government aid. It also allows you access to some federal loans that are at more favorable interest rates than they might be if you use a private institution for loans. Apply for scholarships. That's where I'm a good resource for our Plus kids. So if you ever have a question about scholarships you are or aren't eligible for, a lot of parents and a lot of students contact me directly to go through that stuff. We also have a list of scholarships on our website where families can go through and see if they major in science, what we have, if they major in music or communications, or they're interested in theater, we have some scholarships for that. But that's where using me as a resource makes your guys' life a lot easier, because I can do that work for you and just kind of give you the information that we find after that. And then the last step before attending LEAP, if you want to do that, is registering for Muskie Preview. That is where you get your class schedule. That is where a lot of our kids meet other Muskies for the first time. That's where parents get to interact with Muskie parents for the first time. And it's a really beneficial day to just kind of see yourself on campus as a student. I believe most of these days, if not all of them, happen after our graduation. So the only student on campus will be incoming freshmen. It's a really great way to just kind of envision what the next 4 years of your life will be. And we'll all be there also to kind of make sure everything is going smoothly. People don't have any questions about what the next couple months will look like. And we kind of go from there.
Jordan, before I take over, there's a question about Plus program work with financial aid. So how does the Plus program work with financial aid? Is it considered in the aid package?
So I know, and Leanne, you can correct me if I'm wrong, there is a Plus Opportunity Award for families who have need, who use the premier level of service. Is that right?
Yes, for families who use the premier level of service or bundle the select and connections level service, and that is all through financial aid. So if a student completes a FAFSA and is determined in financial need for the financial support of the Plus program, then financial aid will work with that award.
In terms of how financial aid does packaging, we don't add Plus to financial aid packages until after they've been accepted into the Plus program in a selected level. Is that right, Leanne?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So in terms of financial aid, when students are initially awarded packages, Plus is not considered in any of the aid that is initially given. After students select their level of Plus, then that is added to the financial aid package, and a new financial aid award is sent out to those students. I also see a question about what percentage of the student body are athletes. That's a fun question. So we have, I would say, about 50% of our students think they're involved in varsity athletics at Muskingum, and in actuality, it's probably closer to 38% of our students are participating in varsity sports. So it's a healthy percentage, and this will be true for most Division III schools that you'll visit, where the percentage will be between the 35 and 55% of students involved in athletics.
So this will be my opportunity to introduce myself and kind of talk a little bit about what happens after you get accepted into Muskingum University. So my name is Melissa Schultz. I am the Plus Services Coordinator. You've probably seen my name on some of your emails. I have been with Plus for about 17 years, and I'm also a Muskingum alum. I graduated in 1998, so I've been around Muskingum for a while. My job is I kind of work with Jordan to make sure that we're getting what we need, and then I talk with Dr. Elkins and some other members of our team to try to decide would a student be a good fit for our program, and how can we best serve them. So next steps for Plus is, first of all, as the slide says, you have to be accepted to Muskingum University. So Plus really has no decision into Jordan's. He just kind of makes that decision of whether or not to be accepted into MU. So I have no pull. I don't contact Jordan about any of that. I just work more with after they get accepted.
And
So-
Melissa, as a
Yes.
point of clarification, just in case, I don't know if parents are wondering this or not, or students, I don't look at any sort of documentation that people send in. So if you send in your documentation before you apply, I don't have access to look at that. So none of that will go into what my decision will be for acceptance. That is all based on GPA, again, class schedule, things like that. So PLUS has no real bearing on admission into Muskingum.
Correct. So I do need some kind of documentation of your disability to PLUS. So that is psychoeducational testing, ETRs if you live in Ohio, individual education programs, 504s, letters from a physician with a medical condition, some kind of written service plan. I don't need all of these. I need a combination of some of these. Basically, I'm looking for, is there a documented disability? What is it? How is it listed? And how does it impact you in the academic realm? So I kind of have to have an idea of what that test scores, all of that stuff is helpful. Strengths, challenges, all of that is helpful when we start looking at the student as a whole, but we definitely need that documentation. And then before you come and have an interview with a parent, so it would be a student and a parent coming to see us, we highly recommend that you bring in your documentation with you because that way, or I'm sorry, bring it before you come so we have time to look at it and have more of a conversation about the best service that would be appropriate for you, what levels, different things. If you don't have it with you or you bring it with you, sometimes what happens is we may ask you for a second interview, a follow-up interview, either in person or on virtual, because we kind of want to make sure that what you're looking for is what we provide. So the interview, as I know we use the word as the interview, but it's more of a conversation. So we ask questions about how do you expect college to look like? What kind of things do you think you may need when you go to college? What are your strengths? What are your, some things that you might be challenged with? What's worked in the past? So kind of asking those questions. We ask questions like, can you get out of bed? Do you go to class? Will you take self-hygiene? All of that stuff, because as Dr. Elkins explained, we are academic support. We are not really life skills, so we're not going to go and get you out of bed. We're not going to make sure you're going to class, all of that. We're just more academic support. So you have to be able to do that independently on your own. We'll talk about, the difference between accommodations and modifications and different things like that. So again, it is kind of an interview, but I also see it as a two-way because you get to ask us questions too. What are these services that we provide? How would we handle, these are what you're looking for. Does PLUS provide that for you? So again, I would need some kind of documentation for that and try to send that before you come see us. And then if you decide not to attend Muskingum and we have documentation, please rest assured that gets shredded. It gets, so nobody sees that outside of our office.
Great, thank you, Melissa. This is the list of the important contacts for students and families interested in the PLUS program. If you're a family who's a current senior who hasn't sent documentation in, or if you're going to be graduating next year and you need to know where to send documentation, that can be sent to plus@muskingum.edu. There's also the link to our student disability services, and that is my contact information as well. The /admission page will take you to information about our application, some scholarship information, and that is my email at the bottom. So if anybody has any questions about anything at all, maybe you think of a question after this is over and you just want some clarification on something that I said or Melissa or Leanne said, feel free to email PLUS, Student Disability Services, or me, and we'll get you the information that you need. Does anybody have any questions about anything we have covered, haven't covered before we let you guys enjoy your evening. Melissa or Leanne, anything I didn't say that we should say before we say bye?
I can't think of anything else unless folks have some questions. I just encourage you as you, so actual costs, that is a great question. And that is, we keep that updated on our website. So you will find that there. It depends on the different levels of support. But I encourage everyone, as you're looking for services, consider what's a good fit for you, what kinds of support did you receive in high school, and what do you think you're going to need in college when more independent work is required.
I also kind of want to add that PLUS students, I don't know if Jordan kind of said this, but we have PLUS students in pretty much every club on campus, and Greek life, athletics. So they are PLUS students, I always say, are Muskingum students first, who just happen to take advantage of the PLUS program. So they're not treated any different. I don't believe there's any stigma around it. Currently, we are serving 72 students from first year to upper class, so which is about 8% of the whole student population.
Yeah, when families visit, and I know they're interested in PLUS, one of the things that I like to say is the only people who really know that you're in the PLUS program are me, PLUS, and then you, and that's really, unless you want to wear "Hi, I'm in the PLUS program" T-shirt, and that's kind of up to you. But otherwise, it doesn't have any impact on housing, whether you can do athletics or not. There's a pretty wide variety of students that are in the PLUS program, whether they're in the premier level all 4 years, maybe they're in PLUS for a semester, maybe they're in PLUS for 2 years, and kind of anywhere in between. But yeah, they're wide variety of kids.